Symptoms of ME/CFS. Now, this isn't going to be a full list, but what I want you to do, especially more so if you don't have a chronic illness, is to imagine you have uh, each of these symptoms together. At what point down this list would you say, that's it, I'm spending the day in bed, cancelling plans, calling in sick to work or whatever, and you're like, no, I need to recover. So the main symptoms of ME/CFS would be fatigue, which is more than just tiredness. It really feels like it just drags your body down. It's like you're wading through mud. It feels as if you haven't slept in days, even though you have. The second one is brain fog. Sometimes I keep saying brain frog, but it's where you have issues with things like concentration, forgetting where you put things, repeating yourself, even though you've literally just said something, but you've completely forgotten about it. It can be things like you put the kettle in the fridge rather than the milk. Now, I think everybody, abled or not, will do these things from time to time, and it tends to be more frequent as you get older. But with ME, this is something it's quite persistent and has like a negative impact on your life. And then the third one is PEM, which stands for post-exertional malaise, which is basically where you overexert yourself. This can be physically and mentally. You've just done too much and your body just shuts down. These three things alone, having them all together at the same time, can make daily life quite a challenge. And certainly if you've never been used to having something like this, it can really, really hit you. And like I said, this is just the start. It's certainly the main ones. And so, yeah, I will see how you do with the rest of the list going forward. This isn't even a full list. This is more reflective on my own personal situation. So the next one is headaches. So, I mean, I think people know what a headache is. But yeah, some days it can be mild, others can be absolutely crippling. The next one is IBS. This is actually the very first symptom that I had, and I've now had it for 12 years. It's not nice at all. I think anyone, unless you've got very, very, very mild IBS that's a bit copable, everyone knows that it's not great to deal with on its own, let alone adding the other symptoms to it. The next one is nausea. I mean, sometimes that can be triggered from having headaches, but yeah, it can also just come out of nowhere, especially when you're really tired. Next one is dizziness. This one's quite a big one for me. I can go weeks where dizziness is really affecting me. I have a walking stick because I keep basically walking into walls or almost falling over. So it helps keep my balance. But there are some days where it's so bad that even when I'm laying in bed, it feels like I'm on a boat. So far, all those symptoms that I've put together about the extreme fatigue, brain fog, PEM, IBS, headaches, nausea, dizziness, you put all that together in one day. That's just, it really is difficult to manage. One of the other problems that people with ME face is the fact that unless you've got very severe ME where you are bedbound or practically bedbound, you have to carry on with your life. You could have commitments, like looking after children, having to run errands, doing housework, all things like that. You can't completely stop your life just because you've got it. But to do all of that and with these symptoms just makes it so difficult. So to continue with the symptoms, the next one is muscle and joint pain. For me, that's a mild symptom. There are others that will have it a lot stronger. So mine, if I had this on its own with nothing else, then it's definitely something I can put up with. But on top of everything else, does make things a lot harder to cope with. Another one is light and sound sensitivity. Now, I have sensory issues anyway from being autistic, but it definitely comes into play a lot more um, with ME, and it certainly leads to headaches. Looking at my phone screen for too long is definitely not good. Flashing images on the telly, or even just out and about, like if I were to get a train to visit my parents, I have to stare right down into the middle of the train carriage, because just watching everything fly by on like the windows just it hurts. It really, really hurts. Um, so yeah, that's not good. One of the other symptoms that does come up fairly common is sensitivity to medication. So I've now gotten to the point where even basic cold medicine can make me really, really ill. I have to be very careful with what I take. Even when I have things like paracetamol, I end up snapping it in half and having that one half first. And then if I've still got like a headache a couple of hours later, then I'll take the other half. Um, so yeah, I didn't realize that this was sort of a symptom until about a few months ago. And I was like, yep, that's me. I've definitely had this issue for some time. The next one is unrefreshing sleep. So, you could even get a nice full night's sleep, in terms of nice as in how many hours you have, but you wake up and you still feel just drained, like as if you haven't had sleep at all, which really doesn't help when you're already dealing with other symptoms that you are trying to fight off. Excuse me, to fight off. On top of that, the last symptom that I personally experience is just skin issues. And this is normally things like having dry skin, which again, on its own, this isn't going to be anything to really sort of disable you, but it is sort of a bit frustrating dealing with it, especially because I do not have the energy to constantly moisturize and what have you. So yeah, it's just sort of like, great, add that in there, why don't you? Now, of course, there are other symptoms. Different people with ME will have a different list of their symptoms, and I've probably missed some stuff that I go through anyway, but I'm so used to having it that I'm like, oh yeah, forget about that. But yeah, could you cope with all this in one go? Probably not. There are days that I will literally have every single symptom that I have listed, um, and it crushes me, and I still need to get up and do certain things. Or I don't think there's a day gone by where I don't have at least, I'd say, two symptoms. Um, so yeah, it's very, very difficult, and there needs to be a lot more understanding around ME, as well as just the fact that people need to realize, if you suffer with stuff like this, if you're not used to it, it will put you in bed for the day. So yeah, let me know what you think, what your experiences are, if you've learned anything from this. Let me know.